It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrone Lowe. I'm your host. The show is called The Legends. In the House of the Legends, I have two special people, man. This is going to be a very good interview. I got John Luongo in the house, and I got my co host, Ray Velasquez. And what's going on, guys?
We're doing great. Everything's good
We're
on this
doing,
end.
we're
Okay.
doing good,
Okay.
Tyrone.
So what we're gonna do is, John, we're gonna take you way back, man, in the beginning, man, because what actually influenced you to get into music in the beginning of your life?
Well, I always loved music. My brother and sister, when I was a little kid, my sister would be playing like Edie Gourmet and Sergio Frankie and different like Barbara Streisand, and my brother would be playing like Duke of Earl and Frankie Avalon doing Venus, and I'm in the middle and I'm over there, and I loved everything. I loved the early funk, but I loved rock and roll and R&B and so I heard all this music coming into me, and I just fell in love with it. And when I went to school, I actually got a radio license. Believe it or not, as a
Okay.
DJ, and I
What
got
is it,
my
FCC?
FCC license. Yep. And
Okay.
when I went to Northeastern, I went to Northeastern University to become a civil engineer. So it was a 5-year program. You work, study, you work, then you go for a semester. You go to school back and
Right.
forth. And they had a radio station there, and my cousin was the head of the radio station. It was called WNEU. So he came out and I went to visit him, and I said, "Can I? Do you mind if I play records?" And he said, "Sure." So I went to the station. You didn't do much then. Here it is. You play like Deep Purple,
Right.
WNEU. That's it. But it went all over the school in the quadrangle. And from that point on, I used to I used to go to a club up in Boston called Zelda's, which was a very exclusive club. And the DJ there was named Andrew Ruskowski. How could you forget that name? And
Wow.
yeah, as I can say it. So Andrew,
Right.
and he'd go to New York and he'd buy all of these 45s, and then every week you go in there and he'd be playing, How Can I Forget? And I Like What I Like by Everyday People, and all these really obscure, weird things. Bonnie Bramlett, Think About Your Baby, and the place would go nuts. So I fell in love with what he was doing. He couldn't mix to save his life, but it didn't matter.
Wow.
My
Okay.
theory is always it's better to have the right song at the right time than to mix it well, because you can have a perfect mix and nobody will notice and nobody gets excited. And Ray will tell you about that because most of the DJs do
Absolutely,
that, right? So,
absolutely.
long story short, I'll try to expedite as much as I can.
Mhm.
I used to go home and listen what he would do, and I didn't have turntables or anything, but I'd record a part of a record on a cassette, and then I press pause, and then I record another record I wanted to see if it matched, and I'd unpause it, and then I would take the tape out with a little pencil. I put them together and I'd splice it. So I'm splicing tape that was like a 16th of an inch thick, and put some
Wow.
tape in the back, listen back to it and say, yeah, I think those tempos would go. So I did that, and I went to on one of our breaks in school. We were studying for finals, and we took a little break. We went to a place. Did you guys ever see Cheers on TV?
Yes,
You know,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
well, the
Yes.
place downstairs, the Bull and Finch Club, is a real place. It
Mhm.
was called the Bull and Finch Club, but it looks nothing like it does. It was a dark place, a long bar. You go in there and you would, you could drink and just play darts. So I'm
Mhm.
hearing music upstairs, and the club was called the Townhouse. So I tell my friends, let's go up there. So we go from the basement, go to the first floor, walk up another floor, and right
Mhm.
there in an old judge's chambers, there's a DJ playing about 4 feet off the ground, and he's got a big
Wow.
like a desk in front of him and
Mhm.
books, and there's nobody in there. And he's playing music, and I
Mhm.
go over there and in my own, you can tell how bashful I am, and I say, "Hey, his name was Peter." I said, "I'm John Luongo. I spin records at the radio station."
Right.
Big, right? Spin a record, don't do anything. So I say, if you ever need anybody, let me know.
Okay.
A week and a half later, I get a phone call.
Hmm.
I'm Jim, the manager of the townhouse. Peter left and said, "You'll be perfect. I should speak to you about coming in and working here," without ever hearing me, without ever doing anything.
Really?
And so I go in. I got
Hmm.
2 QRK turntables, which are really great turntables, but there's no cue. So you're either you hear the left one, you hear the right one, you hear them
Hmm.
both. There's no way of me listening to it offline. So what I would do is take a recording, put a 45 down. I'd mark it on a magic marker when I heard the first, go back a quarter of a turn, and I knew 1, music. So if I counted in my head from the time I hit it, music. So it would play. And I found a way to make records go together. I became
Right.
really good at cutting and extending them. And I became the DJ there. And I got started and became, we just killed it. We took the place from nobody to lines around the block. It was right beside Emerson College. So the college kids would come, businessmen would come, and the place was just jamming all the time. And that's where I got my love.
Okay. You want to piggyback on something, Ray?
Yeah, it's very interesting beginning, John. And obviously, music had uh, a profound impact on you at a very young age, and you knew at some point that music was the direction for you.
Yeah.
You knew that this was your passion. So, let's talk about, going back to the Boston record pool. What was that like for you, John? Considering the emergence of record pools across the country, what was that like for you? What was that experience for you at the pool?
Uh, that was it was a very interesting experience. Do you know that the first 3 record pools in the United States were New York, Long Island, and Boston? We started at the same time. I think New York might have started a little bit earlier. Long
Hmm.
Island with Jackie McCloy, Judy Weinstein, and Danny
Right.
Cucciarelli came later. Uh, and then we had Jackie McCloy, and I
Yep.
was doing it. The way record pools started were out of necessity because I would now, because I was playing at a club, would go around to the record labels. And just so you know, the first time I went to a record label, I went to a distributorship called WIA, Warner Electric Atlantic, right? So I go in there and I say, "Hi, my name is John Luongo, and I'm spinning records at the townhouse." So, so that one, the big scringilli with white clams does. We Tony Marino, the manager, says we don't service club DJs. So I'm walking out crestfallen, looking, just really feeling like crap. And
Really?
I'm walking my little bright green Carmen Ghia, electric green. And out of the side of my eye, I see a dumpster. And there in the dumpster, I see all these boxes of records that they're about to throw out. So
Hmm.
I go to the dumpster and first thing I find is a bag. It was a promotional bag, had Warner Electric Atlantic,
Wow,
Beersville
that's amazing.
flavor. I still have that bag, right? And now I pack my little Carmen Ghia. So there I am. Instead of my life was ruined, but now there was hope. I packed it with every 45 from Led Zeppelin to Maria Muldaur to
Wow.
I didn't care what it was. I'll take it. The spinners, and that's how I really got the collection going. But then after I became popular and we started really getting people there, I said, well, how about, since I went around to the record labels, how about I send everybody up here to get their records? No. To a person, they all said, we don't want to see them here at the distributorship. They're all weird. And so, well, I guess I am too. They didn't like the scene because we were like misfits, gay, straight, black, every friggin' thing in the world. And to
Right.
me, they're just my friend. These are my friends. These are my colleagues. These are people I love. There's no record pool yet. So I said, well, how about this? If you don't want them, how about you give me 25 copies of every record that I like, and I will distribute them to the DJs.
Wow. Okay.
And they said, okay. And
And
that's
what
how
did he say?
I said, yeah. They said, yeah. because it got it off of them. I said, and I'll report to you on how we do. So I got the best DJs I could find, everybody there in Boston. I said, all right, let's start with 25. We got I got Cosmo Wyatt. I got Dana Jakovitis. I got Jimmy Stewart. I got people that played at all the straight clubs, gay clubs. I didn't care what they were, but they just had to be the best. And so if we all played the same record on the same weekend a couple of times, we had the power of a radio station, which is what I convinced the record labels. And we would tell them, I'd start saying, this is going to be a hit. That's going to be a hit. This is no good. That's going to be a hit. So that's how record pools got going. And eventually we started 25. I think I ended at 175 people. And when I left and I went to New York.
Let me ask you a question, John. Due to the fact of the record pools, were you guys given like feedback sheets,
Yes.
to let the distributors know exactly where the product was at?
Exactly right. Yeah, I had a great girl her name was Roxy Meisel. I think Ray would know her. She was the first. She was the first female record pool coordinator in the country. She was great because she was tough. She would fight me on things. She would tell me when the people were unhappy, and we go back and forth. And that's what you want. You know how you want a situation to be. You want conflict when necessary. You want fearlessness, because the ultimate master is going to be the truth. And so,
right.
She wasn't afraid to come up to me, and I wasn't afraid to tell her what I thought. And that little tension that we have, beautiful, because everybody knew they had a voice there. All the members, I said, we have meetings like once a month. We give them all the records in the slots. We gave them a feedback thing. Those feedbacks were collated, and Roxy sent them to all the record labels. After we did it, everything we did, I'm not trying to say we were the first in the world at everything, but certainly we were the first in the world as far as like giving feedback, being coordinated as far as playing, because Ray will tell you in New York, everybody played, but they would just talk to each other when they picked up their records, and they go their separate ways.
Right.
I made Boston. We had to be together. I said, the only way we're going to beat New York and take over a throne here is by doing something that's coordinated, powerful, and effective. If we can't deliver, we don't deserve to be in business.
Okay. Were you guys actually reporting to the radio stations as well?
Yeah, that's what happened.
At that time?
As we started to get some traction,
right.
I got a phone call from the radio station. I'll give you an example. The biggest pop station in Boston was WRKO. The person there was Christy. She was the music director. And she said, well, we're going to add a record, and we want to know which one we can add that will reflect accurately what's going on in the dance scene. Okay. So I gave her I Love Music by the OJs. 2 weeks later, it's number one. Then I speak to Sonny Joe White, who's at the only R&B station in Boston at that time, WILD, which went off at night at 7:00 because they wouldn't allow, the FCC wouldn't allow the signal to carry over the water so it can go in other markets. So I gave Sonny, he wanted to play with A Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers. And I said, no. Mickey, you know what I'm talking about. I said, you play Tear the Roof Off the Mother Sucker, and I'm telling you, it's going to serve you really well. So,
right, yeah.
And then I get Ron Robin, and Ron Robin was on he was on WMEX at that particular time, and I give him something that had a little bit more of a like a Rock the Boat. I said, you can play Rock the Boat by the Hughes Corporation. So I found tracks that would fit everybody. And then from this, I started people were coming up asking me what to play, and I was spinning at the townhouse. I was tired of writing the name of these on matchbooks, on napkins, on their arms. So one of my friends said, how about we do a magazine? I had no idea about a magazine, none.
Okay.
And my father was a newspaper guy, worked for the Boston Herald, but I never had a magazine. So I said, all right. And it started as like, about 4 pages. And in the purpose of the magazine was to print TC's Disco Dozen, the top 12 most popular recordings in all of New England. So we print this, give it out to people. They were taking it. We went to all the clubs gave it out. And eventually the retailers would take it, blow it up, and put it in their store, and they would stock the records that were on there. So we had Strawberries stocking our records based upon what I was saying was going to be popular, or what was popular in the clubs. And that was the beginning of now we got radio stations calling us. We have retailers calling us. We control all the clubs, and everybody's working together like a fine machine. So if we wanted something to happen, we made it happen. One of the most, I guess, memorable things that we did that was great is when the Savannah Band came out, and RCA had no idea what to do with it. We have no idea. The head of
And
promotion.
it's funny that you mentioned that, John, because when I first got it, I had got it from a promo from RCA, and it was quite different because it had a jazz type of situation like going on like in the 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
But the thing about it was that when I actually went to a club and seeing that people were actually doing the hustle on it, you know, it sort of like brought it into a new era of existence, you know. And I had no idea at that time that this song was actually going to blow up the way it did.
Well, I still have the original memos that I got from RCA. Pinky, you'll appreciate this. So Larry Palmacci comes to a record pool meeting, and he says, "What do you think, John? We don't know what to do with this." So I said, "All right, I'll tell you what." I said, "I think this is a fantastic record that we can all get behind and play. And we can play this record out of Boston." And so he goes back and he tells the people in the CBS meeting, John Luongo says the Boston record pool can break this record. So they're all getting excited. And so we have a meeting with all the DJs, and I say, I want you all to focus on Shay Shay LaFemme. Everybody just focus on this, play it. And if you don't have the courage to be able to get the dance floor leaving 2 or 3 times, then you don't have the courage to be in this record pool, because it's not about playing the immediate hit. It's about playing something to believe in. And I hand to God, all the dance floors emptied, including mine. And I didn't give a damn, you know. I'm over there saying, Shay, Shay, La Femme, you know. Oh, please, dear God, make me be right.
Something special about that record. Yeah, there was something special about that record.
Magic, right, Pinky?
Very magical. The lyrics, the music, like Tyrone just mentioned, you know, there's something vintage in the production that grabs your attention. And obviously, you know, what's the name of the lead singer that you and I are talking
Corey Day.
Yeah,
Corey Day, yeah.
That's fantastic on the track. So
you had, you also had August Darnell, who's a superstar. You had Andy Hernandez, who used to be called Coda Monday. I said, "What the hell's Coda Monday?" He said, "It's the ugliest animal in a zoo." I said, you know, I may not be a particular artist, but let me give you a little career advice. I don't think you should be naming yourself after the ugliest animal in a zoo, but you keep it if you like. So he and I are best friends. I can call him anytime at all. He goes, "My brother." And August came out. They played the record in Boston. It exploded. We sold 25,000 copies, and it broke everywhere in the United States based on Boston. Yeah. We were a little city that could, you know.
But you know what blew me away? I had no idea that Creole, was actually part of that. Yeah, I had no idea that he was actually even part of that before they.
No. You know what else he was a part of? Machine. There, but for the grace of God.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That was his brother.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm telling you, it's incestuous. It's like these things that August Darnell, he's one of my best friends. He's a great guy. He's really talented. I mean, you know, you're a wonderful thing, baby. You listen to his music, you go crazy. And then I ended up working with the Coconuts. Producing stuff with August. That, you know, it's a small little world. And we just became such good friends, because the key to success is not finding the obvious, because anybody can find the obvious. It's like if you and Pinky went and say, let's do a song, and you copy a sound that's #1 now on the radio or in the clubs, it's over. Your song is the second a song hits #1, it's an hourglass. It tips over. That sound is dying. It's dying. You don't need it. By the time you get your record out, who needs this? Now you're old news. So you're better off going against the grain, challenging yourself, and doing something that's never been heard. That scares the hell out of you. That you got to be able to embrace failure if you want to succeed.
Right.
I agree with that, John. You know, there has to be, with all of the music that is uh, that is out there and evolving. You know, music is constantly evolving. As you and I are speaking right here, music is going in a path and it's changing little
Yes.
by little because records cannot stay the same. You can't have a hit record with the same exact sound and production. You know, as we go into everyone's looking for a secret weapon. Everyone is looking for
Absolutely.
something new.
Oh yeah,
Kids
definitely. Yeah.
and the kids are out there buying records. They, you know, they don't know the inside of the business. They only know what they like,
Right.
and they're looking for something new and innovative that reflects their own personalities as being
Yes.
new and innovative in the way they live their lives with clothing and art and
Very
everything
true.
else. So you know, so it's a constantly evolving business. And John, look at where we are today compared to back in the 70s. We had the disco boom. We had, you know, things have changed. The house movement came in, and now we're heading into a new direction where, you know, who knows exactly uh, you know, exactly what this music is going to be like. But one thing is for sure, kids like to dance,
Yes.
uh, and as long as that premise is going to be there, music will always find a way to come in and you know, and be what it's going to be. So you know, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We have this experience going back to the 70s, and again, the 70s were basically an extension. The disco movement was an extension of what happened back in the 60s with pop radio and hit radio. You know, an extension of melody songs, and disco came in, melodic
Yes.
songs, and house came in, and now we're getting into the different types of house music, and it's gotten a little bit more clubbish, uh, you know, getting away from the song a little bit, getting away from the melody. But I think as long as music is going to be here, it's, you know, if it's going to survive, there's always going to be a need for melody and song
Very
at the
true.
top of everything.
That's what's
So what I'm
gonna.
going to do now is I'm going to actually do something that John gave to me, and we're going to play it. And it's Christmas. It's like it's a Christmas sort of thing, and
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
we got some fun people in the house tonight.
This is our house.
Why can't every day be like Christmas?
And we're back. Show is called The Legends, and in the house I have John Luongo and I have my co-host Ray Velasquez. Now, John, let's talk
Yes.
about some of the remixes you've done because you ran through some labels, man. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about that experience.
Well, look, I guess the most interesting thing to do is to tell you how I got started.
Okay.
We were all starting in Boston, working together, and I became really good in the clubs. I became great at what they call quick cuts. So I went from I didn't tell you I went from the townhouse. I eventually fired and quit from the townhouse. Do you know why? Because they said the owner came up to me and said, "You're making everybody dance." I go, "Oh, I'm so
Really?
sorry." Oh, how silly of me. What a jerk I must be. He said, "They're not sitting down to drink." I said, "Okay, well, I'll give you a couple of slow ballads every now and then." But I know how not to make people dance. And if you want that, then we're going to have an impasse. So I left. And he said, "Well, I don't think we're going to be able to keep you here." I said, "Don't worry. You don't have to." I left. So I left and I quit. And I heard about a job at a businessman's club. It was a businessman's club with people, suit and ties, called the Rhinoceros. And they're sitting there in this little glass booth, with a plexiglass booth. And if you thought that I was having trouble with my two QRK turntables, I went to this place. They had two A&R platters. And you and
Right.
Pinky, you have to pick the platter up. You remove the rubber band from the little spindle to the big spindle for 45, back to the little spindle for 33. Put the platter
Mhm.
down. I had to spray it with silicone, cut the inside of a record sleeve out, an album sleeve. And that was and then put a nickel on the head so it wouldn't pop off everywhere. So I had to learn, but at least I had a headset. So I was there and I turned it into the largest black club in Boston and all of New England.
Wow.
3
That's
floors.
amazing.
It's legendary. You were really. I mean, so many people came there. There's a story I can tell you later, but I won't. But I just want to show you that. So I went to that
Right.
and started to become, was really learning my craft because I studied R&B. There was a station on that was on at midnight on WTBS called The Ghetto, and it was all the college students from MIT that went on there and they could participate, but you had to be black to be on that part of the station. And
Mhm.
eventually, so I would listen with my headset and I go to sleep listening to this station. So everything's coming, the escorts, the what? No, I'm listening to stuff I don't even know. So
Wow.
I'm becoming hypnotized into it. And eventually, I had the first dance show in the country that was on 2 hours before that. So it was the right track, and then WTBS The Ghetto, and we just became best of friends. So from that, I started the record pool was going great. We started a promotion company. It was called Pavilion Promotions, and we really were getting good at this. A guy named Mark Kreiner and Tom Causey. Ray would probably know. Tom Causey used to be the head of BMG A&R for a while. Mark Kreiner was a kid who was rich, and he wanted to get involved in the music business. I went to a Billboard event. They brought me in, and they said, "We want you to listen to something to see what you think as far as the recording is concerned, since you run the
Right.
record." And at that point in time, the Billboard chart had, I think it was 16 different cities on there, 444, Boston,
Mhm.
San Francisco, Los Angeles, Detroit, and I reported Boston. So they played me the record, and I said, "Wow, this could be the #1 song in the country." I said, "Give me the acetate." They gave me the acetate. I made up reel to reel. So everybody in Boston and gave it to all the DJs. The next week when they reported it, when I was reporting the chart, I reported we were the only city in the country that had it because this was an exclusive they gave me. And the record was Dance, Dance, Dance by Chic. It came in at #1.
Wow. Okay.
Now, Tom, who was working with Buddha, quit Buddha, took the record and brought it to Atlantic. He made a deal with Mark Kreiner, and they became partners in MK Dance. So that's how
Wow.
that started, right? See, right? And then
Very
they
interesting.
said, "Well,
Very interesting.
you're really good at this, and we want to start a promotion company, MK Dance." So I said, "Okay, would you run it?" I said, "Yeah," but I said, "I'm not leaving Boston." I said, "I'll run New York, Boston, and Los Angeles from Boston because I wanted to stay there. I was happy with my people. And so I started working on records. We became really good. On anything we would touch, we'd get up the charts and we cross it over. I got a record from Epic. They sent me this record, and I said, no, we can't promote this. And the girl said, why? I said, it's too slow, needs some percussion. That's a hand claps. I said, it's got to have a little bit more energy. Got to do something with the bass to make it more happening. She said,
Right.
could you? So I recorded, put the record on a turntable. On one side of my 2-track recorder, which I slowed down, recording it, I put that record. On the other side, me, salt shaker, and 2 spoons. So
Wow.
and then when you played it, you heard the illusion. And she said, okay, can you do this? Now, I'd never done this before. So I said, okay. Because I've learned one thing, it's Tyrone, you and Ray will learn, never say no. Never.
Okay.
You do it. Jump in because you're better off swimming than you won't drown if you're any good. And if you drown, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. So I go to New York. I said, where do you want to go? Media Sound. Go to Media Sound. I need an assistant engineer, Michael Barbiero. I said, Michael, I want the bass to be this big because I didn't know what I was doing at that time. Hit me over here. I said, I want the bass to hit me in the groin, the bass drum to hit me in the chest, and I need a percussionist. He said, well, let me give you Jimmy Malin, who just got off of doing What a Fool Believes and Kiss. So Jimmy and I did it off really good. We went in there, we're clapping. Jimmy's playing this percussion. I said, no, it's wrong. Change it around. Let's change it this way. We had to make the snare bigger, so we used a trick, which you guys will appreciate. We don't have samples back then, so we took the feed from the snare, just that one track, and fed it into the control room. And when we fed it into control room, we took the Aurotone speaker, which is a little square thing, put it on top of the snare, and recorded it. So it became much poppier, more like a snare than this little Schwazulu that they gave us. Finish the record, pass it into Epic. Go back in a plane to go to Boston. It was there for 2 days. One day to do the overdubs, one day to do the mix, and I went back to Boston. About a week later, I get a phone call that the record's being played in the Paradise Garage and it's killing it all over New York. And it was called You Stepped Into My Life by Melba Moore.
Yeah, okay.
And so that thing was slamming. And they called me back, and they did another one. Then they did Pick Me Up, I'll Dance. Now, this is all on the fly learning, So then I did that one, and I ended up working with Patti LaBelle and the Jacksons. And from that point on, I ended up doing Gonzalez. I was called in for everything, and I did so many on CBS that eventually it was between when I wanted to get move to New York and become a record producer. Epic offered me a position. CBS offered me a position. Capitol, Clive Davis wanted me to run he wanted me to run Arista Promotion. I said, no,
okay.
I didn't want to do that one. And EMI also. So I had 4 or 5 offers. But I liked Epic because they had done so many things with them, and I stayed there. And they wanted me to be a producer. And I said, nope, I won't do it unless I can have my own label.
Wow.
So I started doing records. And from that point on, then I started, and every time they said I couldn't do something, it would piss me off.
Wow.
Remember that story with Full Force? Well, you can't do that. Oh, I can't? We want you to do this. Oh, you do? No. I would purposely go out of my way to show them my upbringing, just like your upbringings. You don't listen to one kind of music. If you heard a rock song that really impacted on you, you both be smart enough to love it. If you heard a jazz song, or you heard something like country, you'd know. I mean, look, dance music was the best of everything, wasn't it?
Of course,
So that's what I use as my guide, and I went out of my way to do more rock, and then I worked on Huey Lewis. I worked on I Want a New Drug. I worked on Greg Kihn, Jeopardy. I ended up doing Kiss, Queen. So they couldn't stop me, and at one point, I got to the point where they finally had to admit that I could do any record I wanted to do, and I would have a really good chance of doing a good job of it.
Wow. Before we end the show, I just want to ask you a question, to
that's
those
it.
people, well, for those people that really want to get into the craft. You know, for those people that want to get into the craft of actually mastering, mixing, and producing and things of that nature, what would you say to them?
I would say that you really be smart enough to listen to everything going on. You know, here's a message that I have that I find that it works for me. I realize there's a whole new wonderful young generation with great ideas out there. And if you want to impact on that generation, you should take the time that it takes to learn the music, understand it, be connected with it, and see and have the same appreciation that somebody who's just starting to record this stuff has for it. You got to learn to
Hmm.
love what you hate and hate what you love. That's very important. The next thing is don't limit yourself in what you're going to do. Don't copy other records. Listen to the recordings and find the element in every recording, even in a record that you hate. If it goes top 10, there's something in it that you can learn from that you may be able to extrapolate and put into what you're doing. Because you don't have to, you know, it's the most important thing in the world. You hear a country song that goes #1 in the country, listen to what melodically or rhythmically it's doing and say, I can take that and I can put it into an R&B format. I can put it into dance format. And Pinky said something very smart, which is we got to get back to melody. You can do 100 house songs. You're never going to make a nickel. You're going to see people dance to them, but it's coming out of it's coming out of a meat grinder. It sounds exactly the same. They're afraid of melody. You know why they're afraid of melody? Because none of them have learned the art of writing, the art of arranging, the art of production. It's easy to go boom, 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 boom. Hey, 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 hey. Boom, 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 boom. You know what? I
I
can,
hear
I'll,
you.
the three of us can do a #1 dance song right now, and it will make 5 cents because nobody's going to remember it. Nobody knows what to buy it for, and nobody will give a damn. Don't be afraid of great vocals in classic music because personally, I think the missing element, the missing element music today is quality, classy R&B music because it's traditional. It would be embraced, and it will be like a glass of water for your ears so you can clear things out. You need to hear something beautiful, melodic, with a great vocalist.
I think, you know, John, I think that if a lot of today's producers that are creating a lot of this house music, if they would spend some time listening to songs, and I'm not talking about strictly dance songs, just
Yes,
strict songs, old songs, melodic, with melodic structure, just getting a feel of melody, and then taking that knowledge back into the studio and creating your house records, you'd be surprised at what can come out of that, based on applying a little bit of song structure into your records. And
you're, you're very right. You're
yeah,
completely right because those songs, they're classic songs. You can learn, and it doesn't even have to be. Just listen to a great song, and see why that song is great and why it's timeless, and try to incorporate some of that in what you're doing today. I think
absolutely.
the kids today don't have a sense of history. You know why? There's nobody there teaching them anything, telling them, or
Right.
doing it.
And you're so right about that, John. You are.
Right?
You know, so they're learning from each other, and what they're learning is how to capture the dance floor with, like what John said, with the
Yeah.
boom boom boom, ha ha ha. You know, that is what they're competing for, with, and they're trying to outdo each other strictly with bass and drums. And the critical element, the artist, the song, the melody, is not important because it's more important to get the dance floor happening with bass
Right.
and drum. It's a reverse psychology. And if a lot of these kids today, these producers, went into studied a little bit more melody and song, and brought that back into the studio, like I just mentioned, um, the results would be fantastic, and actually would bring back a big part of the music business that's been gone
Yes.
for so long.
That's true.
Tyrone, what do
Well,
you
you know,
think?
fellas, um, I'm so glad to have both of you guys on my show. John, you've been very informative. I want you to come back, man, because you got so much
I will come back
information,
to you. Only for you and Ray.
and
I wanted to talk to John about John Luongo music and that inner uh, uh, part of the business that's a little bit business oriented and very
Go,
sacred. It's a very big part.
go
right,
on. You can send people to johnluongomusic.com. No, just John Luongo Music,
right.
LUONGO music.com, and you'll see what we do. Because you know, one thing I would encourage anybody before you get involved, before you do your first mix, your first anything, unless you're doing it as a hobby, is
Hmm.
learn how you make money in the music business. How do you make
Right.
money? How do you protect yourself from losing money? How can you do? We all of us who have been in this for a long time have gotten screwed by an attorney, an accountant, or somebody. It's just the nature of the game. And you know why
Right.
that happens? Because when you go into this, Tyrone, you go into it for the love of it. So you don't care if
It's
you're
the
making
passion, of course.
money. It's not
Yeah.
important. And as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be successful anyway. So
That's true.
you have
That's
to
true.
love what you do more than what you think it can bring you. You
That's
know?
right.
I mean, how much you think I made for my first mix?
Tell me.
I mean, just take a log guess. I mean, remember, people make tens of thousands of dollars right now. What was my fee for doing something that went platinum and made Melba Moore's career forever?
$1,000?
$250.
Wow. That's amazing.
Guess what? I have no regrets. You know why? Because I got a college education working
Right.
with a bona fide superstar for $250. What a small
Wow.
price to pay. And
Yeah.
you learn from that. And now my company, I have one company that does royalty recovery and collection, and we
Hmm.
help artists who got screwed to get their money back. So to get their royalties, we represent people from James Brown, Lynn Collins, Dan Hartman Estate, Curtis Hairston, the guy who did the four biggest Stevie Wonder albums of all time, Bob Margoliouth, um, people from Musique, people from Class Action, the
Hmm.
stylistics. So Bobby Eli's, who passed away, MFSB and South Soul Orchestra. So
Right.
I learned from the things that hurt me how to turn it around, because somebody once told me the anger is paralyzing, and it is. So blow it away, forget it, just learn.
Yep.
Okay.
And like you're mentioning, John, it's all pain management. You learn from pain. You
Right.
learn
Yes.
from setbacks. And the other side of the coin is that, there all of this pain is shaping your character
Yeah.
and shaping your destiny if you're hanging in there and dealing with it, because you have nowhere else to go but to learn from the
It's very
Right.
pain.
true. And if you think
Yep.
about it, if you play guitar, what happens is you get calluses on your fingers. It hurts like hell, but then you get calluses and you're able to deal with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is you're learning how to do what Pinky says, do the pain management. And I want to
Well, it all
compliment.
depends on how bad you really want it. You really
Oh
got to
yeah.
want it. You
You know
know
what
what
the
I'm
difference
saying?
is?
Yeah.
The difference between a winner and a loser is a winner can take one more day of excruciating pain.
Hmm.
Don't get in this
Very well
business.
said.
You don't
Very
want
well
pain.
said.
And I want to say you and Ray are doing a great job. I like your back and forth. I like the fact that you both clearly love music. I watch your little promos with the people. I know so many of them. They're like Evelyn King. We broke Evelyn. I'm going to claim
Right.
all the credit for that, Pinky. I know you want to in New York. David Todd mixed it, but we broke it. No, you don't get that. So cut it out. Okay. She's you know what she was doing? Sweeping floors with her mother. She
Yeah.
was a
She
janitor.
told a story on my show. I had her on my show as well. But fellas, it's been a pleasure having you guys on my show. John, I'm going to bring you back for a part two, if you don't mind.
I will do it
Let's
because
get this out first. Let them get the information, and for you guys that's actually out there right now, that's actually needs some information. I'm telling you guys to watch this and get the information, get the history, and talk about and apply to yourself for on today's scenario. And this has been another T-Lo production, and you guys stay tuned for another one of my shows. And John and Ray, you definitely, I love you guys, man, and thank you very much.